everybody, it's Joyce Compton here with Nutritionally Correct. Today I'm going to prepare two dishes. The first will be a ginger Cajun stuffed pork chop with a maple syrup glaze. And I will also make a sweet potato and apple dish for you after I do the meat dish. So let me tell you a little bit about this meat. I'm going to be using 2-inch thick pork chops. And I like to get a lot of my meats from Costco because they have a lot of organic cuts of organic turkey and chicken, and their meat is just really always of high quality. I buy lamb there all the time. So they have these nice thick pork chops. Now, one of the things that you need to know about meat is very hard to slice meat when it is at room temperature. So you want these pork chops to come straight out of the refrigerator. If they're still a little soft, then you want to put them in your freezer just for a few minutes. So you're going to take a very, very sharp knife and you're going to make a slit or slice it where you're right in the center of the chop. Can you see that? So, and a lot of people put other things in here like some rice pilaf and potato stuffings. I'm not going to do that today. I just want these pork chops to have a nice gingery taste to them with garlic and onions and all those flavors to come out. So I'm going to use my favorite Cajun spices that I like to use. I like to use a spice called Slap Your Mama. You can always find it in a lot of different places. But here in the South, and if you're from Louisiana like my family is from, then you know about the Walker family's Slap Your Mama seasoning. And I'm also going to be using McCormick. It's everywhere. So McCormick puts out a Cajun spicy seasoning that has dried red peppers in it. It has bell peppers, onions, garlic. It's a really, really good seasoning. So I take 1 to 2 tablespoons of this McCormick seasoning, Cajun seasoning, and I mix it with a tablespoon of ground ginger, which is right here. I use organic ground ginger. And I will use either fresh chopped garlic or the freeze-dried. Today I'm just going to use the freeze-dried, save myself some time. And you just mix it all up in a bowl. And you can put a little bit of garlic herb seasoning if you like. I didn't do that today. But however you like your meat to taste, you can add other spices. So you're going to take the mixture and you're going to put it in all of your pork chops that are slit open, and you just stuff it with the seasoning, and that seasoning is going to go all through and through the meat as it cooks. And you close it up, and then on the outside you just sprinkle a little bit of I use the Slap Your Mama because it has the Trinity in it, the black pepper, red pepper, and garlic and salt. It's either, I think it's red pepper that they have, and salt. And then I put ginger on it. And I'm wearing gloves because I don't want to contaminate my other dish. And to save time, I want to just go straight into preparing the sweet potatoes. And I'm going to put a little bit of the garlic herb on the outside as well. And oh, it smells so good in here. If you could smell it, you'd smell the ginger. And I have some fresh ginger here that I'm going to now take and put inside of my pork chop. Maybe about 3 or 4 pieces, just enough to give it that flavor. All the other chops have been marinating with the seasoning in it. I don't know if you can see it very well, but they're all ready to go. So it's 4 pork chops here. I'm just going to take these chops and put them in a pan that has foil. Let me move this over. Get this out the way. And bring it over so you can see it. And I'm just going to put them all together. Let me move this one over. And I'm going to take the foil. I can take my gloves off now. Nothing on my hands. So, I'm going to take the foil and I'm going to, about the way. And this is heavy duty foil, and I'm going to seal it together like so. And I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'm going to bake it for about an hour. And after that hour, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to sprinkle onions and maple syrup over it. So we'll come back to that a little bit later, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put my meat in the oven. All right, so I put my meat in the oven at 375. That's the temperature, 375. And I'm going to bake those chops for 1 hour. So the chops are cooking. So now I'm going to get ready to make my sweet potatoes and apples. I'm using sweet potatoes that are about this size. They're I think they're called jewel sweet potatoes. And I got them all pre-sliced here, but I left one because I want to show you that when you have a sweet potato as thick as this one, I always take my knife and just cut down the center like such, and I just slice it. And that's probably about an inch thick. Okay? That's all I do. So, this recipe is my own personal, so is the pork chop recipe. Got it all ready to go in my skillet. The apple recipe calls for, this is 4 medium-sized sweet potatoes, 2 sliced apples, and I use lemon, a fresh lemon. I squeeze half of the juice over the apples until I'm ready to make it. And I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of my Kerrygold butter that I like to use. And I'm just going to drizzle maple syrup over this. A lot of people think that sweet potatoes have to have a lot of sugar on them to have that candy taste to them. But I guarantee if you do it this way, you're going to love it. It makes up a nice little syrup, and they're sweet, and you don't have all the sugar in your food. So we have 4 medium-sized sweet potatoes, sliced and cut in half if they're pretty thick. And I have 2 tablespoons of butter with 1 tablespoon of lemon olive oil in my pot that's already hot and ready to go. So I'm just going to pour the sweet potatoes in. I don't know if you can hear them, but they're kind of sizzling. And you want them to, I'm going to put my burner on medium-high heat. And I'm just going to coat all of the sweet potatoes with the butter and the olive oil. Alright, so just about all of the sweet potatoes seem to be getting coated with the olive oil and the butter. So now I'm going to turn my heat up to high because I want it to start kind of getting it caramelized. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So, when your sweet potatoes are pretty fork tender and you have some brown edges around it, you're ready to add the apple. And then lower your heat to medium. If the camera can get just a little closer, then you can see what I'm talking about. There's a brown piece right there. Just a little golden brown. So I'm going to add the apples, and my apples are sliced pretty thick sliced apples. I'm going to put those in there, and then you keep stirring. My burner is on medium. My heat is on medium rather. And I'm going to add, this is about a half a tablespoon of nutmeg. If you don't like nutmeg, then you could use cinnamon, but my family, we like nutmeg. If you use cinnamon, you're going to probably have to put more maple syrup or honey. You can use honey in this recipe, it's up to you, but I'm going to use maple syrup. And the reason I use honey or maple syrup is because it's all natural. Not processed. I use unfiltered honey when I do use honey. And you're going to find that these are going to taste sweet as if you had cane sugar on them, but you won't have cane sugar. Honey and maple syrup has a lower glycemic index. So in my family, we always are watching that. In fact, I'm watching it all the time. So as you can see, I have it on a low medium, and there's spices all throughout the mixture. So now I'm going to take my maple syrup, and I have a big kitchen spoon, and I'm just going to pour that full. It's probably about 1/4 of a cup. And I think you can hear it sizzling. So I'm going to use one more. So 1/4 and 1/4 is a half, isn't it? So probably about 1/2 a cup of maple syrup. Now I'm going to turn it up just a little bit and let it come to a good boil. So I'm going to let it come to a boil, and I see it starting to boil now. So I'm going to put a lid on, and I'm going to lower it to medium-low. And I'm going to cook it for maybe 10 minutes and check it out. And if it looks like it's ready, then I'll just turn the burner off. So our hour is up. I'm going to take the pork chops out of the oven. I'm going to put the finishing touches to it. It's been baking at 375 for 1 hour. And I'm going to up my temperature to 400. Let's open it up real quick and be careful. There's a lot of steam. There's the steam. I don't know if you can see it, but the bone on the pork chops is pulling away from the meat. So it lets me know that it's good and tender. And if I stick a meat thermometer in it, that temperature should go to 160 degrees. And if it says 160 degrees, that means it's gotten hot enough to kill all the bacteria. And it's pretty much done. And let's see, it's just fogging up here for me to see. So my meat thermometer shows it's over 160, as you can see. So that means it's ready. It's all the bacteria. So So I'm just going to take the rest of this and just sprinkle it over it so I can use it all up. I'm going to take the onions, sprinkle them on top like so. And now for the maple syrup. I'm not going to measure the maple syrup. I'm just going to whisk it over, just pour some over it like so. Just enough to coat. And because the chops are basically cooked, and I upped the temperature because I want it to brown. So I'm going to put it back in for 30 more minutes, and then we'll be ready to eat. Even though I'm covering it up, I'm not gonna make it tight, just loosely cover it. And it's going to, the steam's gonna come out and it's gonna brown. All right? All right, so it is ready to take out of the oven. And I want to put a disclaimer out there. I did at the last 5 minutes open up the foil like every good cook should. I checked my product and it looked like it wasn't browning well enough, so I opened up the foil completely. So I'm not sure if the camera can get a picture of that, but they look wonderful. So now all we're ready to do is put it on the plate. So I'm going to take this chop right here. Oh my gosh, it's so tender. I'm going to put it on the plate. And here are the yams. Can you see the steam coming up? The sweet potatoes and apples. I'm going to spoon a little bit of that on the plate. Oh, they look wonderful. And all we need now is a green vegetable. So I steamed some broccoli. It's just fork tender. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you try this at home. It's going to be really tasty, and we'll see you next time.